The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. It's the start of a new week, and this is a Monday episode of Running Point. As always, we are brought to you by our good friends at Top of Our Heads at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. As you can tell, I have a guest with me today, DJ Yoakley, joining us from the Athletic Studio, the CEO of Ysn, gracing Running Point for the first time in a while. DJ, it's good to have you back. How are we doing on this wonderful Monday afternoon?
It couldn't be better. If I was any better, mine would be Anthony Hartwig.
We're doing good. We're doing good. DJ, you're here because we wanted to kind of bring up the power rankings that we have in the way we've been doing them and the way we want to continue to try to tweak the algorithm and continue to do them, because it's been getting a lot of talk on our social media when the power rankings dropped this morning.
Yeah, so first off, I'm probably going to have to switch over because I think I got a little bit of lag going. So I'm going to flip over to my Mac, and then we'll address this. Can you give me 5 minutes?
You got it, bud. We'll buffer for 5 minutes. What I'll do is I will bring up the power ranking graphic that we put out earlier, and we'll just go over where we sit now. And then when you come back, we can talk about it. So this is what the volleyball power rankings look like right now. We just put them up. This is done from a computer algorithm like we have always been doing it. Akron Hoban takes back the 1 spot. Fitch is in the 2 spot. East Liverpool in the 3 spot. Lakeview goes in 4. Crestview 5. Girard moves from 10 to 6. Then we have Ursuline, who's still off to a really good start at 7. At 8, we have LeBray. We have Jefferson at 9. West Branch at 10. 11 is Western Reserve, still undefeated, still leading that MVAC Scarlet tier. We have Edgewood at 12. We have Columbiana at 13. We have Hubbard at 14. Beaver Local at 15. Garrettsville Garfield at 16. Wellsville 17. Campbell Memorial 18. 19 is Boardman. 20 is going to be Ashtabula St. John. 21, Mineral Ridge. 22 is Badger. 23 is United, 24 Liberty, and then 25 is Edison. After a tough weekend tri-match with Minerva and Sandy Valley, Edison drops a few spots, but they still hang on in the power rankings. So obviously, a little bit of shakeup. East Liverpool gets into the top 4, so does Lakeview. Crestview jumps from 8 to 5. They started the power rankings at 13. So you can see them swiftly going up as their schedule gets more and more busy. But a lot of Crestview fans are still kind of scratching their heads because, of course, they just beat Fitch pretty dang handedly in 3 sets over the weekend, and they've already beaten East Liverpool. So I understand that there has been a lot of frustration on Crestview's side about where they sit in the power rankings right now. And number 5, as we pop DJ Yoakley back in and we take down these rankings for a minute so you can see that his face is up and we're back with his Mac. We're all good. DJ, you wanted to come in and just publicly and transparently describe kind of what we've been trying to do with the power rankings, what our goal is, and where we sit with volleyball power rankings right now and where we'll sit going forward.
Yeah, so basically what I want everybody to know is we're not perfect. trying. You guys do a phenomenal job of sorting out kind of what our intentions are, and our intentions are first and foremost to draw more attention to the sport of volleyball, the sport of baseball, softball, whatever the sport may be that we do power rankings. I'm not a huge ranking guy to begin with, but the biggest thing for me is that if we as YSN are able to accomplish a little bit more light on some of these teams, we always get asked a few of the questions, right? Why don't you guys do individuals, from a standpoint of divisions? So divisions 1 through 4 in volleyball, for instance. Well,
Right.
they already do that. It's called the state rankings. You can go and look those up if you want to. So if you'd like those, they're already there for you. What we're trying to do is we're trying to give some of these teams that don't get a whole lot of spotlight the spotlight. And by doing so, we're going to have growing pains. We went from 10 schools in our power rankings to 25 schools in our power rankings, and trying to get an algorithm where it doesn't exist before. Football is easy. Football is easy. Football and basketball have been absolutely easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Because we basically pluck them from Joe Idol and we throw them in there based on already baked rankings, already baked points, things of that nature. To my understanding, we've been working an algorithm that does a few things, Anthony, and you could probably explain this a little better. But to my understanding, it's a lot of this team versus this team. And if a Division I team beats a Division I team, they get a greater amount of points than if a Division IV team beats a Division IV team. Am I correct in that assessment?
That is correct. Right now, the way the algorithm works, anytime you beat a Division I team, you are going to get more points for beating that Division I team than you would for a Division IV team, unless that Division IV team has significantly more wins than that Division I team. So, like, you would get more points for a 10-win Division IV team than maybe a 1-win Division I team. But it would have to be a drastically different spectrum of wins versus division right now, the way the algorithm is set up.
Okay, so, and I want to make this completely transparent, is that I have not been hands-on in this. I am taking 100% of the blame because I'll always do that. But I have not been hands-on, and what I think needs to happen, because this is not a reflection on anybody that is part of the power rankings in any capacity. But right now I wake up and I saw it last night before I shared it, and I half thought, you know what, we should probably keep this to ourselves. We should tweak this before. But sometimes you got to put out the bad food to understand how bad it is.
Right.
And then you take the constructive criticism, which, by the way, was not constructive at all. Some of you people are just downright mean. So we were able to basically look at it and say, hey, you know what? Right now, this sucks. Because I'm gonna put this out there. I think Crestview is the best team in the YSN Power 25. I do believe that. I think they've proven it. I think with wins over Fitch, with wins over East Liverpool, in straight sweeps, correct? They should be.
They haven't lost a set yet.
They need to be number one.
Right.
And not that I'm trying to get Crestview to number one, but I'm trying to do is provide justice.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Batman swooping in and saying, okay, well, this is wrong. How do we do it? And it's not to take away from any other teams, but there's a lot of people out there that are commenting and reacting to this, but there's not a whole lot of solutions. So You know how we are, Anthony. We're solution based. So I love when people make mistakes. I love when people fail, because it's an opportunity to learn and succeed from that failure. So first and foremost, I want to commend the YSN team, and especially the volleyball division of what we do at YSN, because nobody else is doing this. Okay, so let's put that out there. It's not like we're waiting for another power rankings to come out and we're basing it off of that, which there's no other ones. It's just us. But to that point, we've got to be more accountable with what we do. We're never going to make everybody happy. It's like being an umpire. Never going to make everybody happy, but we can do what's right, even if it is not the right time to do it, if that makes sense. So we're going to make adjustments moving forward. It's week 4, right? We're going to make adjustments. Why do we have to wait? I don't understand why we would wait. And you can look at those power rankings the first 3 weeks and you can say, well, that was a waste of time. Well, maybe it was, but maybe it got us here to where we can assess this talent a little bit better, the best teams in the top 25. So one of the things I've been thinking of is in changing the algorithm a little bit, because it's obvious if a D1 team beats a D1 team and a D4 beats a D4, they're not equal. Those wins are not equal. So I'm not trying to make them equal, but I think that lighting in a little bit more of YSN-ish, kind of homerism, because that's what we get, bashed for all the time is being homers. Well, if a one YSN team beats another team in the top 25, they should almost steal their points. And I think one of the ways to do it is on a 25-point scale, right? If, let's say, the number 5 team beats the number 4 team, you can take that point system. So let's say it's a 25-point scale. If you beat the number 4 team, you get 25 minus how many they're in the poll. So the 4 team, you'd subtract 4,
21.
you'd get 21 points. Okay. That other team wouldn't get any points, obviously, because they lost. So that should throw them up. And I know that we can do divisors and
losses actually lose you a point in our algorithm. You get -1 point for every loss you have. So you'd lose the point for losing.
Yeah. So which is equal. It's fair, but I don't understand, and I know why it happened, but a lot of people open up that power rankings this morning and they look at, okay, well, Crestview's 5th, and they beat East Liverpool and they beat Fitch, and those 2 schools are still in front of them.
Right.
Siggy got with me this morning. I know you guys talked as well. There's a human element that has to come in at some point, right? But
and you have to, it's bad timing to see Crestview 5 because they beat Fitch handedly. It wasn't even a close match, and they did it publicly on our network too. I mean, they came in, they were ready, they beat him in 3. The biggest lead Fitch had in the whole day was a 2-point lead in set 3. There was no point in that match where you ever saw Crestview in trouble or didn't have control of the match, or you never thought that once that maybe Fitch was the better team. There were maybe some points where you thought Fitch was equal, but most of the time it was, wow, Crestview is just a better team than Fitch today, and they are proving it, every single point that they had in that match on Saturday. So when that happens publicly on the network and it's broadcasted to everybody, and then they come out as 5th in the power rankings, it does this make you, like a dog listens to a high-pitched sound, like, what? It doesn't compute. But the way it's set up, it's really because Fitch is playing Division I teams consistently, and Crestview isn't, and that's what the algorithm was set up for, and that's why it worked out that way. My suggestion to Chris was, let's just put more weight on teams' wins than we do on what division they're in. Because right now, you would get more points for beating Cheney, who, in all due respect, is not having a good volleyball season, than you would for beating Middle Ridge, because Cheney's a Division I team and Middle Ridge isn't. But Middle Ridge is a much better volleyball team than Cheney is, wins-wise and talent-wise. So I was saying, let's just put more emphasis and more weight on how many wins your opponent has, regardless on what division they're in. I think right now we put more weight right now on what division that your opponent is in, rather than how many wins or how good your opponent is. So
see, I think there's some merit to that, but I also think that teams that are good, that beat good teams, should be celebrated and rewarded.
Right.
So like a good Crestview team, there's got to be a way that you could. I mean, it's almost like when Sonic the Hedgehog, right? So you do so well and you're going around and you're getting these rings and stuff like that, but then you hit something and you lose all your rings. I don't want you to start over again. There's no reason that Fitch should have to go all the way back to 25 and East Liverpool should go to 25 and things like that. And obviously I'm just referencing Crestview because I feel that Crestview is the best team on the network right now in volleyball. That's my opinion. And we're not changing this for Crestview, but I think that Crestview is they're the team that you have to change it for before everybody else starts coming in too. Because I think this is a snowball that can get a lot bigger before it gets smaller. So we're trying to make sure that this makes sense. And listen, it's not easy. It's not easy because, like you said, Anthony, there's a lot of people that put a lot of weight on Division I
And I think that's a
And
football mindset. It comes from football because you get a lot of points for division points in football, and that probably trickles down into every other sport's thinking. Like, oh, we beat a Division I team. That's a good win.
well,
Well, not
but
every
there's
Division I team is good at volleyball.
I understand that, but they have a lot more to choose from.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like you've got a bigger pool to choose
Exactly.
from. So you should be better. That's not always the case.
That's not always the case
should,
either.
You should be better, but I understand why the division weight is there.
Right.
But the problem is like Crestview could beat a lot of the Division twos and a lot of the Division ones, and they're doing it right now. And they're in the MVAC, and they can't accumulate any points to help their cause. So
because they're playing nothing but Division 3 and 4 teams. Yeah.
Right. So they're doing it on their schedule. They're playing Fitch.
Right.
They're playing East Liverpool, and they're out of conference. But once you get to in conference, we're not going to see Crestview at the top of the rankings ever. It's just not going to happen because they're not accumulating. And every way I look at this, Anthony, like football will shake out. Football will shake out because the point system works. It's one game per week. It's all we saw this in softball and in baseball that rainouts have an effect on this. We saw that LeBray was in the top 10. LeBray was number 1 for a while because they were getting games in and nobody else was.
Right.
So it bumped them up. Volleyball is a little bit more challenging in that capacity because you're playing games. Doesn't matter. You're inside.
A big difference in softball. I was thinking about this baseball and softball, you have more games, which means you have more opportunities to go play the big schools or the schools that are going to give you a lot of points.
How many games do you have in softball?
27.
How many games do you have in volleyball?
20.
Okay, so I believe baseball is at 22, aren't they?
You can play a max of 27 in baseball and softball.
Okay, so most of the schools we see play about 22 games. That was the average we had last year. So you're only playing 2 more games on average. But the difference is we had a little bit of algorithm difference, right?
Right, because like a lot of our teams traveled and played teams out of Myrtle Beach that were getting them a lot of points, or teams out of Tennessee that were getting them a lot of points. And we don't have that in volleyball. We don't have that opportunity where teams can go and travel to Columbus for a weekend and play huge teams that are getting them a lot of points.
There was also a bonus indicator
for
if you 10-run a team, right? And negatively impacted if you are 10 run,
right?
Which I think, and I know you don't like it. I know a lot of the people on the committee don't like it. I think if you're swept, that it should have an impact. Right. Not necessarily that you sweep a team, but if you are swept, it should have an impact on where you are in the standings. You should lose another point for that, or 2 points for that, because or 3 even. I mean, you lose. How many sets did you lose? So, like, to me, that would be okay. If you got swept, you're losing 3 points there. If you swept the team, you should get 3 points. And I know it kind of sucks because you have teams. Oh, this team's going to play this team, and this team can barely field a team. But we're incentivizing wins, and that's the thing. We want wins, and you can only play who's on your schedule. So, I mean, and I know it's a little bit of wish-wash in what I'm trying to get across here.
Right.
But if Crestview is locked into, and I'm not knocking the MVAC at any, because for many sports, that's exactly where they need to be, is in a conference similar to the MVAC, and that's where they are. But for volleyball, Crestview is, I believe, top 5 in the state in their division.
Division 3, they're number 3.
So you look at that, number 3. Thank you. So you look at that and you go, okay, they can beat a lot of the teams, if not all of them, here on the network, but yet they're being punished by us, and their fans feel they're being punished by us because I don't think, and I ran some of the numbers this morning, I don't think if they won the rest of their games that they're ever going to get higher than they are right now unless the other teams lose.
Right. The other teams would have to lose.
And that's not fair
the reality. Right. It's not. Because Crestview could very well go undefeated. I see one more team on their schedule that I could honestly give like even a chance to say that they might beat Crestview, and that's Girard. And that's not until the second to last game of the season for Crestview volleyball. So there's really not another game where you could say, well, Crestview is going to be playing a team that could maybe beat them. It's just not going to happen. With the level of Crestview volleyball right now, unless they beat themselves somehow in one night, it's just not going to happen.
a way to improve it is to include enhancers based on quality of win or loss, but trying to determine the qualities. Yeah, it's impossible. It's not difficult. It's impossible, right? Because how do you do that if let's say Fitch loses their best player, right? The quality of the win goes down then, and now you're judging it based on one player. Like it's impossible, and especially to do it in a time frame that we're doing it weekly. You know, if we were doing this monthly, but you'd only have like 3 of these power rankings.
Right.
You know, a preseason, a midseason, and a final. That's all you'd get.
I knew there was something wrong last night when I did the math, and I said you would get more points right now if you beat Cheney than you would if you beat Middle Ridge.
And we're not knocking Cheney.
And then it's not a knock to Cheney. It's just like Middle Ridge is a better volleyball team. They have more wins, but because Cheney's a big school, we've put more weight on division than wins, and I think we have to fix that. We have to put more weight on the opponent wins than we do on the opponent's division.
I think that being able to get and this is selfish, right? Because I was asked about this morning, and I was told it wouldn't work. But to me, if we put weight on YSN teams, right? If you're in our top 25 and you beat a team in the top 25, you should get those extra points,
right?
Because the majority of our teams are playing teams in the top 25.
It just sucks. I mean, it sucks for Hoban. It's the only one it sucks for.
I think they'll be okay.
They'll be okay.
Based on the rankings, the way they're right now, Hoban will be fine because they'll get a gazillion points for beating every D1 team in the area.
Right.
But like there has to be an equalizer for small teams.
Right.
And we have a lot more of these smaller teams than we do bigger teams. You know, you Hoban, Fitch, Boardman. That's really it, right?
Hoban, Fitch, Boardman are the
we had
Louisville,
and they're not there anymore.
And then like East Liverpool's D2, Lakeview's, Gerard's D2, Canfield's D2, but the teams you mentioned are the only D1 teams that we really have.
So you look at Girard. Is Girard going to have a hard time climbing the ranks because they're playing teams in the NE8 and a lot of
Girard
them are
plays Lakeview tomorrow, so that'll be a big test for them. But I'm looking at that. I just wanted to pop up the rankings. Like Crestview has a big week, especially if we go into this top 25 system because they're playing LeBray this week, and that's number 10? No, number 8. So they're playing undefeated LeBray. And they're also playing Garfield, who's on the power rankings as well. So that that would be a huge equalizer if we gave them points for beating those teams.
Yeah, so you get and again you can chop this down, but if Crestview beats LeBray under that new algorithm, they get like 17 points.
Right.
And if they beat Garfield, where was Garfield on that list?
Garfield was 16.
So they would get 9 points.
Right.
So you're talking about a possibility of 26 more points that, but guess what? If Garfield beats Crestview or LeBray beats Crestview, then you're getting 25 points or 20 points. You know what I mean? Stuff like that where like there's got to be an equalizer. And that's what we're looking for. So, because at the end of the day, and we've talked about this, these power rankings are entertainment and informational based, right? There's an infotainment value to them. They don't mean jack diddly to any of these coaches until you're not ranked number 1. And then all of a sudden it's, hey, you guys are idiots. You blindfold and you throw it at a dartboard. No, we don't. We pick them out of a hat, pal. And maybe next time we'll try yours. It's just like, and we're not whining. We're not complaining. But here's the thing. We're trying.
Right.
We're trying. Our coverage alone has helped this sport specifically go to the next level. It has been covered more than ever before, right? More than ever. And we've had other people tell us we wouldn't have games of the week multiple times over without what YSN has pushed everybody else in the media industry to do. We're trying to do it again. I'm not crazy about waking up and people telling me that I suck. Believe it or not, it's not like a great feeling for me. Hey, I just dropped my kid off at school. I suck today. I did a really bad job.
Me and Chris feel it too, because I mean, and the rest of the people in the volleyball group chat, because we've been putting these together with volleyball, broadcasting volleyball games and getting in for volleyball. So it's almost like, well, you guys, your efforts suck. That's what it feels like when people say stuff like that. But at the same time, like you said, we're trying. We're out here. We're trying to give a lot of attention to a lot of really good volleyball teams. And there are some really good volleyball teams on that list that probably wouldn't be talked about unless our list was up, that are in the top 10.
Listen, and as much as I appreciate what you guys do in that volleyball group and the way you do it, it hurts to see that. And
Right.
But also it sucks for me because I feel like there's a dartboard with DJ Yoakley's face
Right.
on it, and they just go like you wouldn't see. I mean, you do see some of the messages that we get as a company, but like the people that send me personal messages, like I don't even have a vote. Like Chris and you told me, listen, we got this. You don't need to deal with this. And then like I wake up to 7 messages about how I'm a terrible human being and how can I do that? And I'm like, what did I do? Like I thought I did something in my sleep. And the end of the day, like I looked at the power rankings, I was like, oh boy, now I understand it. I get it. But we're gonna fix it, or at least try to. Yeah, we're gonna try to make it as and this is gonna sound bad, as concrete as we can, because I don't want to rely. We tried this, and anybody that understands YSN and has been around the power rankings, we tried the human element, right? The human element of the power rankings. It does not go well. It does not go well because you've got teams that have no wins that people are pushing for them to be in the top 25 or the top 10 even at that point. And that's why I was trying to explain it earlier this morning. And it just like, we have to take the human element out of it. As much as I think that Crestview should be number 1, we're going to build an algorithm that not only will help Crestview, but will help the other smaller teams that aren't playing D1s every single week. But Hoban has no reason not to play D1s.
Right. They're independent. They don't have any obligation to play any conference teams at all.
And Fitch is in the same boat. Like, how does Fitch get better? If no offense to D4 teams or D3 teams, even other than Crestview, but like, why would they play D3 and D4 if in the tournament they're going to play D2? If I'm Fitch or I'm Boardman, I'm playing D1 as much as I humanly can. And if you lose, you lose. Everybody gets into the party. And trust me, they're not out there to lose, but it's prepared. It's the old South Range baseball way when they were independent. They go in with a losing record, but they play teams that were bigger than them all year, and all of a sudden they're state champs. So I don't know. For me, the power rankings, and we've talked about this before, they are a dicey situation. They get people talking, right? Yep. You get them talking, but sometimes you can't get them quiet because nothing we do is ever going to be good for everybody. And I get like, listen, Fitch in East Liverpool, I haven't got one complaint from him today.
Right. They're like, oh, cool.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, that's right. Get him, YSN. But like, where we are. We're athletics right down the road, and we're getting crucified on social media. And I was told that there's going to be a riot outside of the door, and I know he was joking, but I half expected coming back from my workout.
Easy picking.
I was gonna again. You've seen draft day where they put the dude's head, they hang him. I expected to see some like Smurf hanging and with DJ Yoakley's face on it. I was just gonna turn around and drive home. But I mean, in all seriousness, we're not out to legitimize anybody. We're not. What we want to do is shine a light on this sport. And the sports that we don't do soccer. And I'll be honest with you, I was asked why we don't do soccer, and somebody said, well, it's because they suck at everything else. No, we don't do soccer because Steel Valley Soccer does soccer.
There's a really good soccer team,
and they're really good at what they do, like incredibly good at what they do. However, we're not soccer experts. I think we're pretty doggone good when it comes to volleyball, right? Yeah. Outside this conversation. Obviously not the way we wanted it to go. And I know you and Siggy probably looked at that a couple nights ago and you went, okay, this is not going to go well.
As soon as I saw it, like I said, like I did that Crestview Fitch game. As soon as I saw it, I said, we're going to get blasted for this because Fitch just made Fitch look silly, and they're going to be number 5. And I said, this doesn't seem right. It's not right. It's not right as far as eye test and as far as, everyone knows that Crestview's one of the best teams in the area. They should be 1, maybe 2 if you're going to make that argument, but not below 2 right now at all. And they're 5 on the computer rankings. So that's one of the things that this tells you. There have to be a little bit of adjustments.
Well, and here's the other thing. Somebody made, I think it was Nate actually, DeCross, that made the comment about if you guys think this is bad, wait till you see what happens this basketball season with max preps.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, and I'm not calling max preps out. I think everybody knows how bad max preps is from a standpoint of they are 15 miles wide and an inch deep, right? So, like, you're only going to get out of max preps what you put into max preps.
Exactly.
And for the OHSAA is expecting everybody to put everything into max preps equally, and it's not going to end up like that. It's going to end up bad. You're going to see people that, again, like they always do, they always work the system, and this is going to affect seeding for basketball. Our power rankings do not affect diddly squat. Right, nobody's coming to East nobody's coming to East Palestine, for us anyway. But they're not coming to us and saying, "Hey, where do you see these people?" and act like I would say we're out, we're done. If we were seeding, we're out. We're no way, no how. And they're going to max preps. And how many times have the people from max preps ever been to Ohio and know these teams? Because as far as I know, Max Preps doesn't stream the games. You upload highlights to Max Preps.
Yep.
So you're only showing the good stuff on your film, and you're gonna rank them based on the stats that you get to put in. And I think we all know that some of those stats can be shined up a little bit and may look a little better than they are. And then you pat it together, you put it in the oven, right? And then out comes a number 2 seeding,
right?
Or the other way, Ian. Nobody's thinking about this. You can spit and throw it against the wall, and it's got dirt and dust all over it. And then all of a sudden, you got let's say you should be a number 2, and you end up a number 7, number 8, and you're just cooking through, right? So you can stay away from the number 1 team if you want to. So I mean, you're going to see it manipulated. So if you're mad at us now, I can't wait to call you. Listen, we keep our receipts here. We're going to be calling you up in about 4 months and asking you how things are going with basketball.
And guess what? Basketball is going to work. This is the experiment. If basketball works, it's coming for every other sport that's not football.
I think they're still going to do football. I really do believe it. There is zero loyalty, right? Zero loyalty in the OHSAA. Zero.
If they take the coaching voting out of every sport, then they will. Absolutely.
They're paying them. Max Preps is paying the OHSAA to do this. And it's but shame on us for accepting money and for sponsorships. I don't understand this. It's crazy to me that this is happening. It's crazy to me. And people are yelling at us now for volleyball when nobody's. Show me another volleyball power rankings. Show me another one that actually has people that know what they're talking about that have even gone to a volleyball game. Because I know of one. That's dumb. Like it's just it's a. It
looked oddly close
thing.
To ours.
Well, and you know what? It's a copycat system that it's ridiculous. There's things that they do that we will never copycat. Never copycat. But it's we're the number. You don't do broadcasts. How are you the number 1 broadcaster in the Valley and you don't do broadcasts? You tweet scores, but yet you're original. Like come on, it's a joke. And I'm not on here to but let's be real. I already got a text message. Well, these guys do volleyball power rankings. No, they don't.
No,
they take ours and they throw it out there and they go. Here, this is them fishing for likes, comments, and shares. Yep. Fishing for engagement. That's what they do. That's why, I won't go there. That's why they're not who we are, right? And I'm not saying that we're better, I am saying that we're better than them. I am. We are 100%, 100%. 9,000% better than they are because we do things for the right reasons. We're trying to draw light to volleyball for these young ladies, these coaches and these communities, and they're trying to draw light to them.
Right.
There's a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Huge difference. We're not doing this for us. We're not doing this for the engagement. We're doing this because, hey, this would be really cool. If I was in school right now, Anthony, if you were in school right now and we were on a team and we saw our name on a volleyball power rankings or any power rankings, that's a cool moment, right? Wherever you are. And it gets the conversation going, right? But sometimes I feel like the rocks are being thrown at each other, and then all of a sudden, like, YSN enters the chat, and then people are like this, right? Rocks at YSN. Like, you guys suck. You draw it out of a hat? Yeah, we do. This one.
We blindfold, and we have Anthony throw darts because he can't see anyway. We don't even have to blindfold him.
No, that's what we do. We just put Anthony, put all the names there, and Anthony's got to look at them and pick out one at a time. This isn't even a school. This is a farm. How big is
what is this?
First Church of Christ is ranked number 5 in the YSN power rankings. No, I mean, like, listen, I'll be honest. I was a little beat up this morning. Like, there was some attacks. And not, they won't do it on Facebook because they know what happens. We are blessed.
They go right into your DMs.
We are very fortunate to have the support that we do. I'm not saying we don't have support. And I know it's always the minority that complains but sometimes it's like, what are we supposed to do here? And when we're wrong, we're wrong. And Anthony, I don't think either one of us or Sigler or anybody in the volleyball chat is saying that we're right here in this power ranking. I don't think there's one person that said, yeah, this is going to be really fun. Like, we knew what we were getting into. I wish I would have had a little heads up. Because honestly, I saw the text or the group chat message, and I didn't think to look at it until this morning. And I just went, oh, dear Lord.
Right.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Please protect me. Please, somebody. I'd be like Joseph in the manger, man, just hiding out in the back and behind Jesus. Please help me out, God.
6 pound, 11 ounce baby Jesus.
Yep. Brand new to the world.
No, I mean, like you said, our power rankings aren't perfect. We're trying, right? We're trying, and we're able to admit that, hey, it's not perfect. It's not the way we want it to be, and we're going to make changes, and it's going to be as good as we can make it. But even when we make tweaks, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to make everybody happy. That's this reality of putting all these teams into over. Anytime you do any kind of ranking of anything, players, teams, faculty members, I don't care. You're going to make someone unhappy because they're not number one.
Which is why, what was my rule 3 years ago?
We don't rank teams.
And here we go.
And here we are, ranking teams.
All because some guy goes, hey, it'd be really cool if we started doing power rankings. Oh, okay. I guess. I mean, we can get it sponsored. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I reached out to a sponsor this morning. They're like, we don't want we don't want anything to do with that. And we don't want that. And I said, well, I mean, to be honest, what I said was, look at the engagement. Look at how many people are talking about this. And he goes, yeah, but they're talking about you guys, and we don't want to be affiliated with the negative talk. And I was like, good point. That's a good point. That's a fair point.
Fair.
But right now, Hoban has no problems with the power rankings.
No.
Fitch has no problem. East Liverpool has no problem. I mean, and it's not just Crestview. I don't want that because
those 3 are all great teams, and they all deserve to be probably in the top 5. They're just not number 1 right now. Like, I can firmly say that Crestview is the best team in the YSN family. And that's from me, who watches a lot of volleyball.
And I got a text message from a parent, and I'm not outing them, and I hope they don't, and I kind of told them back. It was a text message this morning. It was like 8:15, right? And it was, I can't believe how much hate you have towards our school. We're not even listed in the power rankings. To which I looked at the power rankings again. I looked at the record of the team, and I sent back, you haven't won a game. You haven't won a match. I don't know how you would make it in the power rankings. Like, we're not an 8th place participation trophy type of company.
Right.
Like, if we lose, but we gave it 100% in doing that. And we will pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and we will go and we will win. If you are not winning games, you should not be in the power rankings, and not be offended for not being in the power rankings, and not take it out on the media company creating those power rankings. Because what happens, it's again, we've had this conversation. We had football before we went to Joe Idle, and we went to the way that he lists things. We had guys that were saying that teams that don't have wins should be in the power 10. And it's just like, if that happens, our credibility is gone, right? And credibility, journalistic integrity and credibility are two big things for me. Because if we're going to do it, we have to do it right. Power rankings, right? Power 68 coming soon. Oh, no, Sam. Actually, that sounds like a volunteer. That sounds like a volunteer to me. And by the way, yeah, Sam's a volunteer. By the way, and I don't know how to say this other than just to say it, it'll be the Power 68 plus 1 from the sounds of it, Mr. 440 Sports Show. So there, take that. That'll add a ripple effect into everybody. But no, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule here today. I know you've got interviews, and I know you took some heat because, listen, as much as they look at me, I know in the back of their mind they see Anthony Hartwig, right, and they're like, I'm going to get that son of a gun too.
I was in Crestview. They were not happy meetings with Crestview on Saturday.
Really?
They were not. They were fired up. There were a lot of chants in the student section that were towards Ysn. I'll just put it that way. When they were beating Fitch, there were a lot of chants.
Oh. Okay,
overrated.
Let's
that
they weren't. They weren't.
No, they weren't like saying Ysn sucks, nothing like that. But like, the rankings got Crestview very fired up for that game. I'll put it that way.
You're welcome. Okay.
Hey, bulletin board material. One of the coaches, I think, put that in the comments to the power rankings. Thanks for giving us bulletin board material.
Perfect.
I
mean, like, listen, like we're use it as you see fit. But it's like I was always told, be careful what you wish for, right? Because if they become the number one, they're not complaining about us anymore. Then there's a target on their chest, which I think Coach Auer is doing phenomenal things over there.
Wow.
I think she welcomes that. I think she welcomes the target, which I like. Listen, what they're doing with that program is phenomenal. But you and I both know that when Rome comes crashing down, from a standpoint of if one team can get a set, or if one team can get a victory, right? Then there's going to be that told you so. Like, that's the society we live in nowadays. It's just how it is. I think Crestview's the best team in the power rankings. I think our power rankings should reflect that. But you can't use our power rankings as bulletin board material anymore if you're number one.
Right.
Maybe you could
maybe
be like,
hey, we took 5 weeks to get number one.
Yeah.
They can still use that. Great teams find ways to put something on there. So
great teams don't need chips on their shoulder. They just go out and do what they do. And Crestview does. Crestview does what they do. So, and I'm out of here.
All right, bud.
Appreciate you.
We'll see you at 3:00 for Power Hour.
Yeah, I think so. As long as I got internet.
All right. Well, hopefully you can figure that out. And thanks for taking your time. Fingers, toes, everything crossed. Arms crossed too. We'll see you soon.
See you later. See you, bud.
So yeah, that's a whole discussion on the power rankings. I think everyone that knows me knows that I take a lot of pride in volleyball and what we put out for volleyball. And I put a lot of effort in those volleyball power rankings, and we wanted to take the human element out of it, take opinion out of it. And we did that starting with us basketball season. And I think one of the reasons why we used the algorithm we did for volleyball is because it worked so well for softball, but there were obviously some changes that we didn't anticipate that needed to be made to switch for the sport. So we're going to do that, and we're going to be A-OK. And the power rankings are going to continue to be a big part of what we do for YSN, as well as Big Dogs of the Valley, which are going to be coming out tomorrow. Don't miss the new Big Dog nominees. You'll probably have the winners announced a little bit later on today for the week. What is it? Week 2 for volleyball, week 3 for football. Baird Brothers, Big Dog of the Valley. So don't miss that on our social media as well as we continue to announce a bunch of stuff. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to just go over the scores from Friday really quick, and then we'll also preview the night that is coming up on the network. Don't go anywhere on Ysn Running Point, brought to you as always by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. I'm going to put them in the top right corner of the screen like we always do, so you know where to go. If you're in the market for a new used vehicle, there's no better place that will take care of you than Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you. We try to do the same here on this show every single day. So let's bring up the Burnett Pools Spas and Hot Tub scoreboard really quick to just go over the scores from the weekend. Obviously, because of our talk about the power rankings, we don't have enough time to really dive into these games too much, but we still want to recap the weekend like we always do on Running Point. Poland beats Canfield 10-7 on the Battle of 224. A very defensive battle between these two. Brookfield beats Champion 40-13. We have Conneaut. They beat Chagrin Falls 21-0, the final score there. In the rivalry between red and blue, it's all red. Red Friday for Beaver Local. They win 55-13. Edgewood, they fall to Harvey 56-38 in a shootout. Garfield dominates LeBray as they continue their warpath this season, 42-13, the final score there. Grand Valley bounces back from a tough loss to Pymatuning Valley a week ago, and they beat Beechwood 42-13. Howland, they go to Boardman and get beat 37-6. Boardman gets their first win of the season. A big win for the Spartans, where they put every aspect of the football game together, offense and defense. Niles takes it to Hubbard. I apologize for Niles and thinking that this was going to be a close game, because Niles said, no, we are better. And they proved it. Antoine Gardner was a beast. And I also apologize, by the way, speaking of Antoine Gardner, for some reason on Friday, I was calling him Antoine Brown all day. So I apologize for that too. I was quickly corrected when I was watching the game. It's definitely Gardner. And I knew that. And for some reason, it was just on my mind as Brown all day on Friday. So I apologize for that as well. Jackson Milton and Western Reserve and Mineral Ridge played a thriller, and it was a walk-off field goal kick for Jackson Milton that gave them the win. Jefferson falls to the perennial Division 5 powerhouse Perry, 50-0, the final score there. Lisbon has a second half run to beat East Palestine 37-7. Newton Falls explodes in the fourth quarter to beat Campbell Memorial 49-28, the final score there. Salem falls to Canton Central Catholic 34-3. Wellsville falls to Southern 35-7. Austintown Fitch wins in double overtime over St. Ignatius 24-21, the final score there. We go back up to the top. Girard and Struthers get together, and the Wildcats get the win in Arrowhead Stadium 35-28, the final score there. A tough place to go out and get a win. Girard has a 2-game losing streak right now. Columbiana falls to United 31-13, 31-3, I should say. Luke Courtney responsible for all 31 points that the Eagles put up. Pretty dang impressive night for him. Ursuline wins 46-0 over East. Final score there. Springfield beats Waterloo 56-0. South Range edges out Lakeview, a valiant effort by the Bulldogs, but the Raiders still a little bit of a step up. 28-21, the final score there. Western Reserve beats McDonald in the Battle of the Blue Devils 34-14. Final score there. Valley Christian hands it to Latonia 30-0 as Crestview falls to Liberty 41-6. We scroll over to the last column of football scores, and we see that West Branch beat undefeated Ridgewood by the final score of 32-29. Marlington falls to Cheney in another defensive battle for the Cowboys, 14-6. Final score there. Mooney beats Clyde 36-26, the final score. Lakeside beats Orange 36-7. Edison gets the win on a Thursday night over Oak Glen, 34-0, the final score there. Pymatuning Valley falls to Rootstown, 28-6, the final score there. Lowville rocks Matthews 60-6, and then Wyndham gets their first win of the season over Tuscarawas Central Catholic, 38-12, the final score there. So those are your football scores. YSN scoreboard can be found at ysnlive.com/scores, and it is brought to you by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. Let's go into what's going to be in action tonight, September 11th. I do want to take the time before we talk about that to just acknowledge that today is September 11th, and we are on the 22nd anniversary of September 11th, 2001. A lot of people obviously lost their lives in that tragedy in New York and the Pentagon, and also in the field in Pennsylvania. And some people are still affected, some first responders still affected by the lasting effects of doing their job, whether they survive that day. If they survive that day, they're still dealing with the health issues that come from doing their job that day. So we want to always remember that day here on YSN. And we want to just take the time to do that. I'm going to take just one moment of silence before we go over the games for tonight. Thank you for going through that with me. And with that being said, we will go into the games that are going to be on the network tonight. Here is the schedule. We have volleyball, we have girls soccer and boys soccer all in action. We have St. John taking on Pymatuning Valley tonight in volleyball in Pymatuning. We have Salem going to Hubbard. Austintown Fitch goes to Mineral Ridge as they try to bounce back against another strong small school. Mineral Ridge having a great season, and Fitch will have to try to bounce back after their first loss of the season to Crestview. South Range, they will host Edgewood. They have a little bit of an Ashtabula County tour this week because they will also host Grand Valley on Saturday. Latonia goes to Sebring. Liberty goes to Cheney tonight. Wyndham will host Maplewood. I almost said Matthews. Poland goes to Campbell Memorial. We have Springfield going to hosting Ursuline. JFK goes to Newton Falls, and then Mooney will host Western Reserve tonight as well. We have girls soccer, Springfield and Brookfield getting together. Warren JFK goes to Badger. Austintown Fitch goes to Howland. Struthers will go to Gerard. Poland goes to Niles tonight. West Waterloo goes to Crestview. Salem goes and hosts Boardman. Lakeview goes to Hubbard, and Canfield goes to Warren Harding. Canfield coming off of a tie against Avonsworth, who is the two-time reigning state champion over there in Pennsylvania. 4-4 tie. Canfield still undefeated, and that was a heck of an effort against a very strong soccer team on Saturday. Boys soccer action, we have Jackson Milton going to Brookfield, Waterloo going to Mineral Ridge, East Liverpool and Beaver Local square off in another big rivalry matchup for that soccer team. Garfield goes to LeBray in boys soccer, and then last but certainly not least, a big matchup between Warren JFK and Cardinal Mooney on the soccer pitch. Before we get out of here, I want to give you what games will be on the network tonight. Remember that games can be found at ysnlive.com/live. And here are the games that are going to be on the network. Today we have 4 volleyball games that are going to be on the network. I will be in Mineral Ridge as Austintown Fitch makes the trip to the Rams house to take on Mineral Ridge. 7 o'clock is your estimated start time there. Chris Colucci going to be in South Range for the Edgewood South Range game. Zach Svensson will be in Hubbard as Salem comes to town. That is estimated as a 6:30 start for that. And then the Wyndham YouTube page and their Huddle Cam will have their matchup with Maplewood, which you can find on the network tonight. Girls soccer, we have 2 matchups. Fitch and Howland, Matt Marr and Jordan Barber will be on the call there. Luke Davis will call the girls soccer match between Boardman and Salem. And then boys soccer, we have 1 matchup. CJ Bacco will be in Mooney as they take on Warren JFK. All of those games can be found at ysnlive.com/live. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in today to Running Point. This is going to be the end of the show. We'll be back tomorrow with more interviews and more great coverage of local athletes from 1 to 2 on Running Point. Brought to you as always by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We'll see you tomorrow.